The most accurate definition of the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis is that it's a true sensation in history and archaeology. More than 50 years have passed since its accidental discovery on October 2, 1972. To date, a large number of scientists have been amazed by the facts and the questions that have arisen from them. For more than 4 decades, they have struggled to fit all conclusions from the findings correctly into the long-standing stereotypes of early human cultures. Ivan Ivanov, a long-time researcher of the necropolis, says that great discoveries, which are not in conformity with the dominating conceptions, are very hard to pave their way. Whether you view this archaeological site merely as evidence for the existence of the first civilization, chronologically preceding the Sumerian and Egyptian, or you subscribe to a more shocking hypothesis that its local inhabitants, having already mastered the processing of copper and gold, gave an impulse to the development of Sumer, Egypt, Akkad, Assyria, you can't stay indifferent. Originating thousands of years before the Egyptian pyramids, older than Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, and even Sumer, the Varna necropolis poses questions that remain unanswered. Some of the findings could be a source of pride for artisans in ancient Thrace, ancient Greece, and ancient Rome, and they have even surprised Japanese metalworkers. The amount of copper tools is enormous compared to other synchronous sites, and the content of gold objects in just one of the graves surpasses all the gold found around the world from the same period. However, the significance of the discovery is far above its material value because it has changed the concepts of the dawn of human civilization. After 3 decades of silence, the necropolis is once again a hive of activity, thanks to the resumption of archaeological work armed with cutting-edge technologies and DNA analysis. These modern tools have unveiled unprecedented insights into the lives, wealth, and ultimate fate of its inhabitants. But before we delve into these recent discoveries, let's immerse ourselves in the incredible story of how it was found and what we know so far. Let's start with the unusual story of this discovery. On an ordinary October day in 1972, in the coastal city of Varna, Bulgaria, near the Varna Lake, the young excavator operator Raicho Marinov was digging a channel for an electrical cable. Operating his excavator, he stumbled upon objects that he initially thought were made of copper. Without suspecting their true value, Marinov collected them and placed them in a shoebox, which he then showed to his father. His father's intuition suggested that these objects were probably very valuable. Following this inner voice, they decided to show the find to the local museum director. The next day, the director visited Marinov's home and was astonished after seeing the finds: 27 gold items, 6 copper blades, and 3 flint plates. He immediately realized that these were not ordinary copper objects, but prehistoric gold, a discovery that could overturn the perceptions of the region's past. For his discovery, Raicho Marinov was awarded approximately 7,500 euros, calculated at current rates. Although not an exceptionally large sum for the 1970s, it was the maximum the law allowed for the voluntary surrender of found archaeological treasures. Just a few days after the discovery, the site transformed into a center for intensive archaeological excavations. A team of experts, led by archaeologist Ivan Ivanov, set out to excavate and investigate the land, poised to uncover the secrets of the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis. Hidden beneath the layers of time, the necropolis was revealed to be the resting place of the world's oldest processed gold, bearing witness to a forgotten civilization. The complexity and advancement of this civilization remain unmatched in the prehistoric world, underscoring the site's significance in our understanding of ancient human development. Located on the slope of the northern shore of the Varna Lake, the Chalcolithic necropolis is dated to the end of the 5th millennium BC, 4600 BC, 4200 BC. The necropolis, covering an area of over 10,000 meters, features a preconceived and planned center where the graves with the richest inventory and the most intriguing semantics are excavated. Excavations continued from 1972 to 1991, with several interruptions, during which 301 graves were studied, accounting for over 70% of the necropolis. Unfortunately, they were halted due to a lack of funding. After 30 years in 2021, excavations resumed and continue to the present, uncovering an additional 26 graves with interesting finds, and conducting new research using modern methods. Burials here were conducted over 200 years, meaning that individuals from 6 and 7 generations, with an average lifespan of 32 to 35 years, are buried in it. In the necropolis, bones show no signs of pathological changes, except for 3 exceptions. The well-developed relief at the muscle attachment points indicates strong musculature. The teeth are in good condition, showing only slight wear on the molars and premolars. This wear, alongside the younger age of many individuals, suggests that their diet consisted of well-cooked food. The depth of the grave pits varied, from 0.60 meters to 320 meters, showing a clear correlation with age, sex, burial type, and the wealth of the grave inventory. Adults were buried deeper than children, males deeper than females, those buried in a straight position deeper than those in a fetal position, and graves with richer finds were deeper than those with fewer possessions. There are 2 main types of graves, those with interments and those without. The symbolic graves are unique, and we will discuss them in detail shortly. Graves containing skeletons are categorized into 2 types, those with the skeleton in a straight position and those with the skeleton in a hopper position. Due to some graves being disturbed, the initial position of the skeleton isn't always identifiable. However, it is highly probable that in 93 cases the position is straight, and in 67 cases it is hopper. In certain graves, bones from 2 different skeletons were found, and in grave number 102, bones from 3 skeletons were discovered. Burials with the body in a straight position on the back predominantly contain male skeletons, yet the number of female burials in a similar position is notably high. Most individuals buried in the hopper position are women. However, the presence of men in this position is unique and distinguishes the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis from other contemporary necropolises. 47 graves without skeletons containing only funeral gifts have been explored. In other archaeological sites, graves lacking bone remains typically represent small pits with modest funeral inventories and are referred to as kenotaphs, from the ancient Greek for empty grave. These are thought to contain items owned by a missing or deceased family member and are relatively rare. However, the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis presents a unique phenomenon, leading to the use of the term symbolic graves. Notably, these graves are similar in size and orientation to those with skeletons. Their inventories invariably include gold objects and a significant number of copper tools, and uniquely, bone idol figurines and dentalium shell beads are present only in this type of burial. Moreover, symbolic graves comprise a substantial portion, nearly 15% of the total graves, making it difficult to assume they were solely intended for deceased or missing clan members. Some may represent ritual burials of deities. Clearly, the symbolic graves in this necropolis embody the expression of a complex and previously unknown ritual of Chalcolithic culture, reflecting the highly developed religious thought among the local populace. The majority of gold objects discovered in the necropolis are concentrated in 4 graves, numbers 1, 4, 36, and 43. Found within these graves were blades showing no signs of wear, functioning as scepters and staffs. These artifacts were either crafted specifically for burial rituals or, with a high degree of certainty, can be considered as items symbolizing high leadership, priestly status, and social prestige, markers of both secular and spiritual authority. This distribution of grave inventories, along with the differentiation observed, suggests to historians that a form of state organization existed thousands of years before it was officially recognized. Grave number 1 is symbolic and contains the first finds from the necropolis following its accidental discovery by Rachel Marinov. It is one of the richest graves in terms of gold, featuring 215 pieces with a total weight of 1098 grams, and is considered a male grave. The inventory of grave number 1 encompasses all artifacts discovered along the length of Marinov's Trench, including objects found within the excavated soil and several individual finds gathered during the initial exploration of the terrain. Thus, the objects are not exclusively from a single grave, but this is the official classification. The next 2 graves are the richest in the necropolis and are also symbolic. Focusing on grave 4, the bottom of the pit is covered with a layer of red ochre. Likely, a clay anthropomorphic figure dressed in clothing or wrapped in a shroud was placed in the grave. The funeral gifts were arranged in the pit in an order similar to those in real male graves. In the northwest part of the pit, above where the head would be, a ceramic pot with a lid and a dish painted with gold were discovered. The dish contained a copper axe, wedge and chisel, a bone idol, a stone adze, and gold tips and appliques. Remarkably, this grave alone yielded 348 gold pieces, weighing a total of 1,555 grams, surpassing the amount of gold found from this epoch anywhere else in the world. The big dish is one of the symbols of the necropolis and one of the most often shown objects. The remaining funeral inventory encompasses copper and stone tools, quartz and other mineral beads, an antler axe, a bone idol figurine, and dentalium shells. Some contemporary researchers, such as Professor Smolenov, have identified a direct correlation between the discovered gold artifacts and the great civilizations in Egypt and Mesopotamia that emerged 1,000 years later. In the same sector of the necropolis, another highly rich symbolic burial was discovered. The funeral gifts in grave 36 include 2 gold scepters, one of which is shaped like a hammer, a bone idol, a flint knife, massive gold bracelets, a gold astragalus, gold ornaments, and appliques. The gold items are interpreted as royal insignias, leading to the belief that this burial represents a symbolic royal interment. Due to the presence of smithing tools, a hypothesis has been proposed that it symbolizes the burial of a priest-king, viewed as a sorcerer-smith. The gold round appliques for clothing are scattered throughout the pit, and some were found turned over, suggesting they might have been sewn onto a fabric that most of the items were placed in. Among the more notable items are dozens of gold figurines depicting bull horns, as well as the most famous, 2 gold bull figurines, the undisputed symbols of the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis and the most frequently depicted finds from the necropolis. The gold items in the grave are 857, with a total weight of 782 grams. The analysis of the metal items provides grounds to believe that this is one of the latest burials conducted in the necropolis. Another form of symbolic burial is found in graves that contain clay masks representing human faces, with gold marking the eyes, mouth, teeth, and nose. These are found in graves number 2, 3, and 15, and are provisionally identified as female. The faces are richly adorned with diadems, earrings, and necklaces, and the entire face is covered with a gold-woven veil, decorated with tiny gold beads. These burials feature gifts such as clay vases, cups, and needles, but lack the smithing tools found in other types of burials. In grave 3, there is a marble idol with gold appliques, similar to the bone hilt-shaped idol from grave 41. The proximity of the symbolic burials featuring masks in graves 2, 3, and 15 to the symbolic royal burials in graves 1, 4, and 5 has led some Bulgarian scholars to interpret this as evidence of their involvement in a unified ritual and a collective religious belief. This has been discussed in the scholarly literature much later as hierogamy, the ritual enactment of a sacred marriage between the king and the mother goddess, or an updating of the myth of the marriage between the first man and the first woman. There's also a suggestion that these 6 symbolic graves form a sort of core of the Chalcolithic necropolis and were likely laid at the beginning of its existence. This hypothesis falls within a broad scientific interpretation that has not been confirmed in any way. We reach the famed Grave 43 of the so-called Priest King. The grave contained a skeleton in a supine position estimated to be around 40 to 45 years old. However, studies of the bone material conducted at the University of Tübingen, Germany, revised the age range to between 50 and 65 years. This places him among the 4 oldest individuals interred in the necropolis, as studies show that the age of other adult skeletons typically ranges from 20 to 35 years. The bone remains suggest that the man's height was about 176 centimeters, according to the Trotter-Gleiser method, which is above the epoch's average. This height notably surpasses that of others in this specific necropolis. Recent research highlighting the skeleton's degenerative changes suggests the individual had strong musculature, especially in the shoulders and legs. Remarkably, the skull from Grave 43, the best preserved specimen at the site, exhibits Europoid features and aligns with the Dinaric Nordic variant of the Dinaric race, corroborating the local origin of the buried. Furthermore, when compared to a large number of skulls studied from modern Bulgarian territories spanning from the Chalcolithic to the end of the Middle Ages, the skull from Grave 43 boasts the greatest volume at 1,623 cubic centimeters. The skeleton displayed in the Varna Museum is a meticulous reconstruction aiming to accurately represent the original placement of the bones and associated objects. The grave gifts stand out for their extraordinary richness and variety. They include a ceremonial hatchet with a handle adorned in gold, acting as a scepter, and gold fittings for a bow. Among the metallic artifacts are 7 copper blades, featuring a spearhead that is unparalleled in this time period and region of Southeast Europe. The collection also boasts 7 stone implements, one of which is a flint knife blade exceeding 30 centimeters in length, and components from 10 pottery vessels. Adding to the diversity is a bracelet crafted from a spondylus shell, enhanced with gold appliques, alongside 134 carnelian beads and 23 beads made of serpentinite. Notably, the assemblage comprises 1,003 gold items, collectively weighing 1,524 grams, among which includes a unique gold end or model of a phallus, highlighting the grave's lavishness and the significant status of its occupant. An intriguing parallel is found in ancient Egyptian mythology, where the goddess Isis reassembles the dismembered god Osiris to resurrect him and conceive their child. Missing only his phallus, she substitutes it with one made of gold, chosen for its divine connotation, as the ancient Egyptians believed the flesh of the gods was golden. This act enables Isis to conceive and bear Horus, the male heir, establishing a lineage that all Egyptian pharaohs would later associate themselves with. After the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, there were rumors of a golden phallus within the sarcophagus that mysteriously vanished along with the pharaoh's phallus amid the handling of the mummy's wrappings. It's noted today that the mummy's phallus is preserved, albeit detached, due to examination processes, but no golden phallus was found among the tomb's artifacts. This gesture of creating a golden phallus symbolizes the potency and divine lineage of rulers, underscoring a ritualistic reverence for their power and heritage. Let's explore some of the exceptional items found in the necropolis, such as the clay vessels decorated with gold paint from Grave 4, a large clay plate with a diameter of 53 centimeters and a bowl. Applying gold paint remains exceptionally challenging even today due to the physical and chemical properties of gold. It requires the use of binding materials in very precise and specific proportions, as well as an appropriate firing temperature. A technological analysis of the craftsmanship conducted in the laboratory revealed that the ancient craftsmen skillfully utilized a mixture of fired chamot and raw clay, then added a certain amount of wood ash. This addition is a practiced technique in the creation of large vessels as a precaution against cracking during firing. The decoration itself commands the highest praise and admiration. The strict and clean geometric figures are skillfully balanced against the dark polished background, enabling them to be appreciated in negative as well. The composition conveys a sense of continuous movement and blending. At the center of the motifs lies the round and slightly protruding bottom, potentially symbolizing the sun, the eternal source of life and motion. This plate is undoubtedly a masterpiece, not only of Chalcolithic art but of all prehistoric art. Some scholars even believe that by using the geometric figures depicted on the plate, one can prove Pythagoras' theorem. A curious detail about both vessels is that they are made in real size, well-fired, and richly decorated, contrasting with the widespread burial practice of this period, which typically involved the use of vessels that were not well-fired, poorly decorated, and up to 2 or 3 times smaller than those used in daily life. Among the artifacts, 2 hatchets crafted from jadeite are particularly noteworthy. Nephrite and jadeite represent 2 distinct variants of the decorative stone known as jade, challenging to distinguish due to their similar appearance yet differing in mineral composition. The peak of the cult surrounding these minerals was reached in ancient China and among civilizations in Central America. Jadeite is an exceptionally valuable and rare mineral, specifically a silicate belonging to the pyroxene group. Due to its hardness, jadeite began to be used by humans as early as the Neolithic period. It was believed that jadeite amulets protected people from all sorts of troubles and misfortunes. For the pre-Columbian civilizations of the Olmecs, Mayas, and Aztecs, it was a revered precious stone, held in higher esteem than any other similar material. Another unique artifact discovered in Grave 36 is a gold object in the form of an astragalus, also known as a talus or ankle bone. This model, resembling a die due to its 4 stable positions on a flat surface, represents a bone from the ankle of a lamb or goat. Such a gold model has not been found anywhere else in the world. The astragalus has been utilized in various games, including gambling, and is known in Bulgaria from the traditional children's game Ashitsi, or knuckle bones, played on St. George's Day. On this day, the astragalus from the right foot of the sacrificial lamb was preserved and used to adorn sacrificial bread. It has also served for divination purposes. Remarkably, near the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, famous for its oracles, numerous astragaluses have been found, made not only of natural bone, but also of stone, glass, and bronze. Its application across various cultures and epochs underscores its lasting significance. The ritual use of the astragalus is linked to the concept of luck, a sign of the gods and fate's special favor. The lucky player was seen as chosen by the gods, irrespective of personal attributes. An instance from Indian royal ideology during the coronation ceremony involves the priest presenting the ruler with 5 astragaluses, proclaiming, "You are the Lord, let these 5 regions fall to your lot." Thus, rule is secured through a game of chance, equating the draw with the decree of fate, demanding absolute compliance. This gold model of an astragalus from Grave 36 may represent the earliest royal lot identified, justifying its inclusion among royal insignia. Undoubtedly, this find is the oldest known artifact representing a real bone from a living being. Another captivating artifact is a unique copper axe, unmatched in its design, featuring an arc-shaped body with a conical rear and a prominently elongated triangular blade at the front. This tool presents a round hole near its blade. Such a configuration renders the axe impractical for conventional use, suggesting the rear part may have been intended for a specific yet unidentified purpose that remains a mystery. What do you think it could be? I welcome your thoughts and theories on this intriguing piece. Similar to the axe, the long flint knives, with lengths exceeding 35 centimeters and one even reaching 44 centimeters, are practically difficult to use. They are more likely a demonstration of the capabilities in flint crafting and processing, a distinct peak in the evolution of this technology. Several items crafted from marble, such as a marble mortar and pestle, were discovered in the symbolic grave number 41. However, the most fascinating artifact is a marble horn rhyton from the same grave, adorned with red paint below its mouth and containing a few golden beads, potentially the earliest known example of a cornucopia. Vessels shaped like animal horns, known as rhytons, are familiar in the much later Thracian and ancient Greek cultures. If you want to learn about the unique Thracian treasure discovered in Panaguriste, you'll find a link to the video in the description. This find is particularly intriguing because such vessels have not been encountered anywhere else in the Chalcolithic or Copperstone Age. The discovery caused a significant sensation in scholarly circles, as similar marble vessels only became popular during the early Bronze Age in Greece and the Aegean world. Upon closer examination, differences from the early Bronze Age rhytons become apparent. It is decorated with red ochre, following the traditions of Neolithic and Chalcolithic cultures. Most interestingly, it appears to have been made on an ancient lathe, as evidenced by the conical hollowing marks. Even more intriguing is that the rhyton was not centered relative to the drilling of the hole. This rhyton is a unique and exquisite item, polished and decorated, remaining unparalleled in the world to this day. Another remarkable find is decorations made from chalcedony, specifically carnelian and agate. Carnelian, long revered for its healing properties, protection against negative energies, and enhancement of vitality and potency, was highly valued in ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Persia, Greece, and Rome, as well as in Japan. It found favor among Buddhists, Muslims, Arabs, and medieval Europeans, even being utilized during World War II in the absence of antibiotics and other medications. Notably, the world's first faceted stones, featuring specific surface treatments, were fashioned from carnelian. The beads unearthed in the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis stand as the world's oldest known examples of complex faceting. Carnelian, essentially a form of quartz with a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale, is surpassed in durability only by precious stones. Remarkably, some of these beads boast 32 facets, 16 by 16, the earliest such craftsmanship known worldwide. In contrast, later Egyptian and Greek jewelers achieved only 16 facets, 8 by 8. A bead from grave 43 exhibited 37 facets, 16 by 21, and when including both sidewalls, the facet count reached 39. It is believed that the inhabitants of prehistoric Varna employed a mechanical device, likely a wheel, for the processing and polishing of these beads. Additionally, the beads of 3 morphological types weigh approximately 0.40 grams or 2 carats, suggesting a standardization in production. Their weight matches that of the short cylindrical gold beads from the necropolis, approximately 0.41 grams, while the weight of other gold finds is a multiple of 0.41 grams. This consistency may indicate the existence of the first universal weighing system or a pre-coinage form of exchange. Another presumed form of currency was the shells of the mollusk Spondylus gideropus, with about 1,100 specimens found alongside over 12,000 dentalium shells. These shells, exclusive to the Aegean and Mediterranean seas, evidence trade with far-flung regions, indicating a broad network of exchange. In 1976, near the northern shore of Varna Lake, just 2 kilometers west of the Varna necropolis, construction activities unveiled 3 graves, those of a man, a woman, and one that was destroyed, termed Varna Chalcolithic Necropolis II. Remarkably, these finds are centuries older than the main necropolis, dating back to the early Chalcolithic period. Rescue excavations of these graves, particularly Grave 3, revealed an astonishing array of items, including roughly 1,000 artifacts. Nearly half of these were shells from the Mediterranean mollusks, Dentalium and Spondylus, alongside copper bracelets, a copper ring, malachite beads, and notably, a decoration comprised of 31 gold beads weighing 4.522 grams, alongside a single bead weighing 0.245 grams, dated roughly between 4,500 and 4,000 BCE. Currently, these are considered among the earliest known gold objects crafted by humans. The discovery of human remains in all 3 graves provided the only anthropological material from this period found in Bulgaria to date. The skeleton in Grave 3, notably well preserved, belonged to a physically robust man, aged between 25–30 years, and stood at an impressive height of 178 centimeters, surpassing the average height of the time. The burial was positioned on its back, with the head pointing north and the legs south, a burial practice known from the Varna region during the Chalcolithic period, but predating those in the main necropolis. The proximity and similarity of the grave goods suggest a shared ethnic origin among those buried. Racial analysis places the individual within the Europoid major race, with characteristics closely aligning with the Dinaric racial type. Unfortunately, excavations were confined to these three graves due to unspecified reasons, and the area has since been developed. The artifacts and anthropological findings from this site clearly indicate a direct connection to the inhabitants of the original Varna Chalcolithic necropolis. Among the remarkable finds was a nephrite needle, measuring 12.1 by 0.7 centimeters and weighing 6.4 grams, unparalleled in global archaeology to date. Tools made from jadeite, a highly rare and valuable mineral, were found, as well as a serpentine reel holder for a drill, likely bow-driven for drilling various materials. The precision of the drilled holes in stone tools is astonishing, challenging the notion of primitive technology and suggesting a high degree of skill and sophistication. You can witness the elegance and precision in the crafting of holes in the stone tools. There's a disagreement among archaeologists and specialists on exactly how they were drilled. However, it's highly probable that bows and devices similar to the reel holder found here were used to hold the drilling instrument, likely a stick made of bone or wood. The processing techniques for gold and copper discovered in Varna necropolis, dating back 6,000 years, are remarkably similar to modern methods. In the first Varna necropolis, over 3,000 gold objects were discovered, among which 38 items possess unique shapes not found elsewhere. This indicates an extraordinary level of local craftsmanship. The gold content in the findings spans a broad spectrum, from technically pure metal at 24 carats to alloys containing 50% gold, equivalent to 12 carats. However, over half of the discoveries match approximately 22 carats, underscoring a notable purity of gold. In the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis, the gold treasures were crafted in two main ways. Some were shaped by bending and rolling the gold when it was cold, thanks to gold's flexibility. This process made things like gold sheets and wires, which were turned into beautiful objects by cutting, drilling, and polishing. Other gold items were made by melting gold and pouring it into special molds, a technique that required a lot of skill and knowledge from the craftspeople. The necropolis is home to both simple and more complex gold items. The more complicated ones needed not just more gold, but also the know-how to melt it at high temperatures, over 1,100 degrees Celsius, before casting it into carefully prepared molds. It's clear that the people making these objects had a lot of experience. They had done this many times before. What's more, we find series of objects that are exactly the same size and shape, showing that these ancient artisans used consistent methods and tools, probably even using early forms of specialized equipment. Based on measurements such as density and the crystal lattice parameters of the objects, and by comparing them with materials from known gold deposits, it's believed that the source of the gold used in the Varna Chalcolithic necropolis likely came from the gold-bearing rivers in present-day Bulgaria. Alongside the gold artifacts, numerous copper blades, weapons, and ornaments, over 160 pieces were discovered, a considerable amount for the era. This includes the only copper spearhead from this period found in Southeast Europe. Very few show signs of use, indicating that some may have been models rather than practical tools. Additionally, a small collection of copper jewelry was found, comprising bracelets, rings, and hairpins. These copper items, much like the gold, add to the wealth of knowledge about the technological prowess and aesthetic sensibilities of this ancient civilization. Studies have traced the copper used for blades and ornaments back to two primary sources. Over 55% comes from mines along the southern part of the western Black Sea coast, while nearly 40% originates from the area around Stara Zagora. Remarkably, the 11 mines in this region together form Europe's largest copper deposit from the 6th to the 4th millennium BC, yielding around 1,000 tons of copper. The rise of sophisticated civilization along the Black Sea coast is vividly demonstrated by the salt mines of Provadia, located just 30 miles west of Varna. Recognized as the earliest known salt mining and urban center in Europe, its origins trace back to sometime between the 6th and the mid-4th millennium BCE. The technique used for salt extraction, involving the evaporation of salt water in ceramic vessels, is a method still in practice today. Around the period from 4700 to 4300 BCE, salt production surged to industrial quantities. Each cycle of salt extraction from the pits resulted in a remarkable yield of 4 to 5 tons of salt. This extensive production and the subsequent trade of such a vital resource, essential for the survival of both humans and animals, propelled the residents of this ancient settlement to become some of the wealthiest people in Europe. Some scholars theorize that this wealth is directly connected to the rich graves discovered in the Varna necropolis. The elite who dominated salt production in Provadia are probably the same individuals honored in the Varna necropolis. Salt was more precious than gold. In those times, it was like oil for today's people. The Provadia Salt Works is the engine of the first European civilization. The people who extracted salt were the first monopolists in southwest Europe. They were the only ones. And this happened 4,000 to 5,000 years before Christ, explains the excavation's leader, Professor Vasil Nikolov. Following the resumption of excavations at the Varna necropolis, genetic samples were collected. A few months ago, the results were published in the journal Nature. The diet of the people inhabiting these lands is now clear. Most surprisingly, fish and seafood constituted only about 5% of their diet. Given that these were people living by a lake near the sea, this is remarkably surprising. For women, grain foods predominated, while for men, the diet was more meat-based. Archaeological discoveries in Varna and its surrounding areas lead us to conclude that the Black Sea coast, from the Danube Delta to the slopes of the Balkan Mountains, experienced an economic boom in the second half of the 5th millennium BC. This boom was closely tied to advancements in metallurgy and trade exchange. It appears that settlements near the Varna lakes served as a regional hub during this period. The graves in the Varna necropolis reveal significant social distinctions based on the material status of the deceased, suggesting the emergence of social classes among the indigenous population. The findings from the necropolis showcase the pinnacle achievements of the first European civilization. Its foundation was based on mining, highly developed metallurgy and metalworking of copper and gold, production of salt, and the trading exchange along the Black Sea coast and major rivers. The investigated settlements of a proto-urban type in the area, the use of stone in the construction of dwellings and temples, and the data from necropolises explored in the region present a society with a distinct social hierarchy led by a priest-king and elders. This civilization, which chronologically precedes the civilizations of Egypt and the Mesopotamian basin by over 800 years, disappeared suddenly at the end of the 4th millennium BCE. The Balkan Peninsula is affected by a prolonged and profound crisis, likely ecological and climatic, leading to the disappearance of Chalcolithic cultures and the loss of much of their achievements and discoveries. This abrupt disappearance has led some scholars to speculate that survivors of this civilization may have migrated southeast towards Mesopotamia and Egypt, carrying with them their advanced knowledge and skills. Such a migration could explain the sudden emergence of highly sophisticated societies in these regions, suggesting that the seeds of Mesopotamian and Egyptian civilizations were sown by these ancient European pioneers. This theory posits that these people, with their profound technological and cultural advancements, might have been the progenitors of the legendary Atlantis, a civilization said to have been destroyed by a cataclysmic flood, leaving behind a legacy that inspired one of humanity's most enduring myths. Exploring this hypothesis further, we delve into the possibility that the story of Atlantis and its downfall was not merely a creation of Plato's imagination, but a historical memory of a real civilization that once flourished on the shores of the Black Sea. The notion that the Atlanteans might have been real and their wisdom laid the foundations for other ancient civilizations is a captivating prospect that challenges our understanding of prehistoric human history. If you're intrigued by this hypothesis and wish to delve deeper into the theory that the Varna civilization's descendants could be the missing link between the prehistoric cultures of Europe and the rise of the ancient civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt, I invite you to check out the video linked in the description. This exploration offers a fascinating glimpse into a potential shared heritage and the mysterious paths through which human societies have evolved and influenced each other across continents and millennia.